What's up, everybody? This is Joseph from Fiction Ink Flow, and I'm here at my local comic book shop, First Aid Comics. With the surge in Marvel and DC movies, animated shows, and all the streaming service shows, many people are questioning, how do I get started into the history of comics? There's so much there. I don't know where to start. I don't know who to look at. Well, I'm here to give you 4 quick tips on how you can start getting into the characters of comic books. Follow me and let's go on this journey. Here we are, everyone, at First Aid Comics. Let's check it out. They always do an excellent job of decorating their windows. I love it. It's one of the things I look forward to every time I come in. All right, everyone, let's go inside and check out First Aid Comics. All right. They have a lovely wall dedicated to all their employees with their portraits. Really cool.
Sakuna or good?
Sakuna, remind me.
Sakuna, he trapped in Edoria.
All right.
Sakuna.
So, hot tip number 1 is to pick a character that you really like and look for that character in the store. So there's many different sections in the typical comic book store. Right here we have our old school comic book rack section. It's really cool. You got some old classic characters like Richie Rich. Alright. And just a bunch of random old comic magazines. This is pretty cool. And these are some really old sections of Archie comics. A lot of people started off on Archie comics. So the first section I'm going to show you is the Marvel section. We have the old school Marvel books all the way to the top and a couple of collectibles. And just looking around. And so I know that I like Spider-Man. So I see several different Spider-Man titles that I would pick up and start reading. We come down to some Avengers books, and I say, oh, this one looks pretty interesting right here. All right, it's like Spider-Man in a really interesting costume, and we have She-Hulk on the cover. I'm like, oh, that looks interesting. I'm gonna grab that one. All right, so that's the one thing you do. Look for a character that you like, and go ahead and grab a book with that character on it. Now, if you can, you may want to look for a issue number 1, which will be hard to find. But try your best, and you may get lucky.
Yes.
We have some Incredible Hulk section, some Fantastic Four, some Iron Man. So these are some characters I've heard of and I know about. So I say, oh, let me check one of these out. And recently, Kang the Conqueror. If you've been watching any of the Disney Plus shows, especially Loki, you got a little tidbit surprise of Kang in that. And this particular store is really laid out a good way to look at it. And of course, we have Shang-Chi. Let's look and see if there's a number 1. Ah, not possible, right? Shang-Chi is really popular right now. We got the movie coming out really soon. So it'd be hard pressed to find a number 1 with him. All right. Even have some Star Wars comics. Some Thor. I know Thor. Venom. We got the Venom movie coming out, hopefully in October. Fingers crossed. All right. And the X-Men have become extremely popular again. You cannot go wrong with getting an X-Men book. I can tell you that right now. X-Men are really hot and popular right now. All right. We also have some merchandise in most local comic book shops. We have different shirts you can purchase. All right. Moving right along to the DC section of the store. And shout out to some classic characters like Superman, Aquaman, of course Batman, one of the most popular characters between Batman and Superman. Those are the top two DC characters that everyone is interested in. All right. And even Catwoman has her own book now. So check it out. Something for everyone. All right. Always something for everybody. We have The Flash. You've seen probably the TV show. And Joker actually has his own book now. Really interesting. I've read a couple of issues and it is crazy. It's basically Joker and Jim Gordon going back and forth in the battle. You have the Justice League, which stars a lot of DC characters you may know and love. All right. And the Suicide Squad, the movie has been out, doing really well. That is also a really popular one. And the other character from back in the day, Static Shock, is back with his own comic now. Teen Titans. You may either watch the Teen Titans Go or the actual Teen Titans cartoon from back in the day. Wonder Woman, Wonder Girl. There's something for everyone. All right, tip number 2. If I want to know more about the story arc of a character, you want to look into the graphic novels. Graphic novels are story arcs that contain maybe 1 to like 6 issues. So these are tight story arcs, and most comic shops have a really extensive graphic novel section. It's easy just to peruse and check out something, say, oh, I want to get that one. So for example, we have this group called the Champions. They're like the Young Avengers. This particular graphic novel covers the Champions issues 1 through 6. And that's what I mean. You look back there, you can see the issues and how many it covers. The average graphic novel is $20, but they can range anywhere from 10 to up to 100, depending on the size of the graphic novel. Well, this is where you would come if you want to read about a story arc, like Infinity Gauntlet, Civil War. All right, all these arcs, what some of the movies are based off, the Age of Ultron, right? They're all in the graphic novel section. And like I say, most stores have a pretty huge section of graphic novels. All right. Just to give you a small taste of the variety of graphic novels First Aid Comics carries. One of the best comic book shops in Chicago, if not the best. All right. What I really love about First Aid, they have these back issues of old issues that have been out for a while, and they put them on sale at a cheaper price. Right? And so you can kind of peruse, you sometimes get lucky and find a rare one like this. This is Spider-Boy. This is when Marvel and DC merged, and you had Spider-Man and Superboy merge to get one character called Spider-Boy. All right? So every now and again, you will find something really interesting in this section. But just in case you were wondering, First Aid does have a section for the kids. So maybe some of the comics are too advanced or maybe considered too scary or a little bit violent for them. They do have a graphic novel. So we got Avatar, The Last Airbender, very popular show. All right? Out of the Golden Book series for the kiddies as well. All right, so they have a little bit of everything to meet everyone's needs. And I love this, the Super Adventures of Fort Rocket and Groot. All right, it's really a cute little like campfire story. So hot tip number 3. I've been searching around. I still feel too lost. It seems like I'm overwhelmed. It's so many to choose from. Who can I go to really help me out? Well, the next best thing is to talk to one of the store employees. They can help you with staff picks and whatever you need to help make a decision easier. We have one of our resident staff members right here. This is Kenny.
Oh, hello.
Hello. Kenny, welcome to Fiction Ink Flow. Can you tell us how do you recommend a book for a novice, someone who's not really familiar? They've watched the movies, maybe seen some shows. Where do they begin with so much history?
Well, if they're coming in based on the show they watched, we'll just try to, actually just funny, I just had a kid come in acting like Invincible. We just start them with the first volume, and if they have any questions about it, I just try to answer those questions because it's a series that I've halfway read, so I'm familiar with most of the story going on. If it's something like DC or Marvel, which can be, a lot harder, I usually give them an entry point, maybe like at issue 25 or 50, or even if they've heard something interesting about a certain story that relates to the movies they've watched, I might introduce them to that series. So like Civil War, people saw the movie, I was like, oh, okay, so here's the Civil War edition event. So people really enjoy hearing, just being able to like understand books that they have been able to watch and see on television, like you asked about. So I just try to start there. Now, for people who may not necessarily have watched the shows, but like have us like talk to people about possibly getting back into comics or things like that, we usually go with what they like in terms of like what they like to play video games about or anything. So sometimes it'll be like they're artistic, so we'll go with some of the like more artistic books, so maybe a Daniel Clowes or something to that effect, or people who want a comic book that doesn't necessarily have action, but something that's more political and more thoughtful. We have that here as well, and honestly, those are some of the stories I've been reading a lot more lately as well. So, as a comic book proprietor, or a comic book person who works at a comic book store, it's always important to read a lot of what you're selling. So I try to take something home every week that I may not be reading, but I just want to know about. Or I try to read something in the store, Zach and myself, we do picks of the week on Instagram. So usually once every week we have a book that we post on the site that we think you should be reading about.
Make sure you check out First Aid Comics on Instagram.
Yeah. So we definitely try to make sure that like people get a customized experience when they come in the shop, because not every reader's the same. Like I was just talking to a gentleman about manga and anime, because we also sell manga upstairs. So like we talked about all the manga and anime shows we're watching, we're reading. So like just have a long range of experience and things you like and maybe not like. So there are some comics I don't enjoy, but I think there are other people who would enjoy those. So like reading the good, the bad, and the ugly, and giving people the option of like checking them out themselves.
Very cool. Thank you, Kenny, for that expert commentary.
Oh, you're welcome. Anytime.
Thank you. All right, this is the independent comic section. So we know we have Marvel, we have DC. These are the independent comics. One thing I can say about this, you will find some stories that are not like many others. You'll find some really interesting things, and some things may be a little too much for some people. So it's why it's called independent, because you can get anything from horror comics to gore to action to politics, as Kenny mentioned. It's just about any other category you may want. So if you're definitely looking for something off the beaten path, I suggest you peruse the indie section in any comic book shop. All right, you'll find some of the best things in here that you will not see anywhere else. Dark Blood is a book that I'm reading right now. It's really interesting, about an African-American gentleman who was in the war, and he got embedded with some kind of powers, and now he's starting to like live in the South and with a lot of racism, but his powers are just starting to come out. Really good book. All right. So the indie comic section, really interesting. You can also find books like some of the classic ones you may know, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the indie section. All right, and some other stuff. You have Magic the Gathering, which is based off of a card game. But you come up with a lot of interesting things in the indie comic section. And I love this. I haven't picked it up yet, but The Modern Frankenstein. It's an African-American woman, and I have no idea what's going on, but I'm intrigued by the cover and want to know more about it.
And then nice people like Mike.
And Indie Comics also have their own graphic novel section as well.
I'm okay. Now that you're here. I'm cheering up.
So Spawn is a classic character that's been around since the 90s, still going strong.
I hear it's getting rough at the post office. That's what I heard.
Got some Transformers. The Walking Dead, also popular TV series that people watch, started off in the Indie Comics section.
Yeah, no, I take it. Yeah. Okay.
All right. And here are the Indie Comic graphic novels. One of my favorites I do need to highlight is this comic called Black. It's based on the theory, what if only black people had superpowers? Really good book. I would highly recommend this for anyone. Not for kids though. All right. And our final tip, tip number 4. I want to find what else can I look for to find some suggestions about where to get some good comics. Always go to the bargain bins. All right, most comic shops have bargain bins where you can find old school comics ranging anywhere from 25 cents to a few dollars. So, for example, look at this old Spider-Man book in a black costume, $3. All right, and I like this. I've never seen this cover. Another Spider-Man one, but his Iron Man looks evil. It's the Iron Man of 2020 fighting Spider-Man. But you find almost anything in the bargain bins based on section. Let's just check Black Panther, see what he has. Oh, that's just a few. Most of them are gone. There's only one left. And this looks really gross. It's like for the upcoming Marvel Zombies, it's a hidden variant edition cover of a zombified Skrull, Black Panther, Storm, and the Thing. We got some old Captain American Falcon books. The original run back in the day. See, look at that price tag, 20 cents. So they're now for $10. All right, and these are your quarter bins. Usually the quarter bins, they are loose comics that have just been in here. So you just gotta take some time, peruse them, dig through the crates, see something you like, or a cover, and you're like, boom, let me check it out. And as Kenny mentioned before, you have the anime section. That's for kids that are into anime, or adults, not just kids. But you have all your anime comics and graphic novels. I know right now I just started watching My Hero Academia, so I have a couple of comics like that myself. And you can't say last and not least, most comic book stores would not be complete without some action figures. All right. We got some DC action figures here, looking pretty cool. All right. We got some deluxe figures. We got Storm. Got some Funko Pops, the classic scene of Spider-Man versus Venom, Joker and Batman, Crow. Some more Spawn, old school Star Wars, as well as some Marvel action figures. MODOK is the show that is on Hulu right now. It's pretty funny, but not for kids. And this is the section of series I like, these action figures. These are the Marvel Legends. We have the Taskmaster from the Black Widow, Magneto, the Gray Hawk, Green Hawk, the Thing, and Thor. These are really detailed figures. They usually come with multiple heads and different accessories that you can trade in. And the actual Hulkbuster. These usually run for $30. These giant Marvel Legend figures. Thank you so much for coming along on this ride with me. I have been Joseph from Fiction Ink Flow. And until next time, please click subscribe, like, and join us for more videos of live events.
Okay. Yes, I put that for 6, 7, and 8. Yes.
Thank you, everyone. And peace.
So you just want the regular covers? I think.